put down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. It's an open mic night for photographers. Get ready for 60 minutes of your photography questions in real time with answers from your host, Joe Edelman.
Hey, that's me. It's Wednesday. Hey, gang, it is time for another live episode of TogChat. I'm Joe Edelman. I'm going to be your host for the next hour, and we're going to talk about whatever you want to talk about with photography. So, as always, first of all, thank you all for taking the time out of your Wednesday evenings to join me here on YouTube. We got a lot of people here, man. Alex is here, Mark is here, Karen, Sven, Bryant, Robert's here, D-Max here, Caleb, Carl. Thank you again, all. I really, really appreciate it. For those of you that are just checking in, say hello. Let me know where you're from. It's always cool to see where people are tuning in from. I know tonight already we've got a lot of people from the UK tonight. I think tonight is like Great Britain night. So I guess everybody's still up partying late from the royal wedding, so they're watching TogChat tonight. I don't know, but there's a lot of questions from the UK. So we're going to deal with all those. But again, thank you guys very, very much. It's appreciated. So a couple quick pieces of business here to make sure that I get it out of the way and share with you guys. So the first one is, you guys all know that I'm big fans of the Interfit Honey Badgers, right? Love those. Those are what I use in the studio exclusively. They are awesome. Well, the folks at Interfit are sponsoring a contest. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of the website called Photo Crowd. So let me switch my screen over here so I can show you this contest. The contest, or the theme of the contest, I should say, is called My Escape. That's the theme. Okay, you can see it there. But here's the cool part, gang. It's your chance for free to win 2 Interfit Honey Badgers. So it's their 2-light kit. You get the stands, you get the pop-up soft boxes, you get a travel case, and by the way, their case is really nice. And here's the cool part. There's a judge. Some guy named Joe Edelman is the judge. So you've got basically 1 week and 1 day left to enter. So here's the other crazy part. I'm judging a contest that is not exclusively about people photography. And you'll see when you take a look, a lot of the photos that have been entered already are landscapes and astrophotography and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I guess you could say they've got a completely unqualified judge going to judge the contest. But anyway, I'm the judge. So I'm going to give you guys the link and the deadline information here in the chat window, okay? So that you can go ahead and you can enter. But seriously, like, awesome prizes. No, of course not. I'm not going to, in fact, when I look at the pictures, I don't know who took them. So they have like a whole judging, utility on the back end that I can look at. I don't know who took the pictures. So I'm not going to favor people that I know, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to do it fair. I will tell you this. There's some really awesome pictures in there already. But so far, you can see the numbers there. It's pretty cool. There's 1,943 entries, which means I will be staying up very late and probably drinking myself senseless for a couple of nights. Okay? But 1,500 photographers already. But I'm going to tell you straight. I'm going to be really disappointed when this is over if some of the top entries are not from folks that follow me here on YouTube and who are members of my Facebook group. So I'm counting on you guys. Get your pictures in there, enter the contest, and I believe it's June 8th is when the winners will be announced. The contest closes. You have until June 1st. So you got 1 week and 1 day to enter. The contest closes then on June 8th. But make sure you get your pictures in. Super awesome prizes. Be a part of it, okay? So that's that piece of business. Let me just get that out of the way. Oh, actually, you know what? I can give you one more piece of business real quick, and then we'll dive in, because I've got some really, really good questions tonight. If you have questions, get them in that chat, okay? I'll answer them for you. But don't forget, June 22nd to the 24th, I am going to be presenting at Out of Chicago in Chicago. It's Out of Chicago in Chicago. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but it is. And from what I hear, it's a pretty cool event. But, not to brag or anything, but like, look at the lineup of speakers. The great Mr. Scott Kelby, Tony Sweet, Aaron Nace. If you guys liked my light painting video, my composite light painting video, Eric Paré, this guy, like the master of light painting. The amazing Scott Bourne, who is like Mr. Wildlife. He's the bird guy. Incredible stuff. Just a lot of really great people. They got desperate. There's this dude named Joe Edelman that's there. Will Cadena, Levi Sim. Awesome people. The other Photo Joe, Seth, is also speaking. A lot of really, really good people. So here's the thing. I will be presenting. If you are interested in going, make sure, if you want to save money, and this is not like an affiliate link, I'm not getting paid for this. They do have an affiliate program. I don't take the money on affiliate programs, only on the Amazon one. That's it, okay? Use this discount code. It's Edelman50. And you get $50 off the registration. So I hope to see you guys there. It would be really cool to be able to meet some more of you and have you be in attendance for the class that I'm going to teach. And also, I believe, now I don't know if he's signed the contract yet and all that kind of stuff, but I believe that the great, the amazing, that Sony guy, Manny Ortiz, him and I are going to be doing a photo walk together. So that will be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. Manny's a great guy. And hopefully that's going to come together. And we'll also be doing the photo walk while we're there. So hope to see you guys there for that. All right. So that's all the business stuff. Let's get into the good stuff, okay? Kevin Kassar, 1 entry per percent. I don't know. Read the rules, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I have no idea. I was asked to judge it. Particular theme. Read the thing. It's my escape, and they give you the definition of what escape means, and that's it. So it's all there. Go ahead and do it. So Mario Crespi, I don't know what you're talking about your comments. I got a whole bunch of comments from you. In fact, I even responded to a couple of them. So yeah, your stuff's showing up here, man. Cat Panda, I'm gonna see Scott. I know Scott. I've had the wonderful opportunity of speaking on the same Olympus stage as Scott, both before and after he photographed one of his more famous owl photos. So yeah, Scott is amazing, absolutely amazing. Love his work. Really, really cool. James G. Let's see, what am I like? I'm 6 minutes in, and there's the question I knew was coming. So let's go ahead and let's deal with the elephant in the YouTube universe, okay? But let me be really clear, gang, before I even read this question out loud. And Mario Crespi, slow mode is on. Relax, man. Just chill out. It is slow. Relax. I'll be the fast-paced one. You relax. Slow mode's on so that I can't get spammed, because I don't have the ability to pay people to sit here and monitor this thing. So I got to be able to read what you guys are typing, and people like to come in and be jerks. So chill, Mario. It's all good, okay? Now, for the rest of you, okay? Before I answer this question, before I even read this question, I want to be really clear. If anybody's going to start trashing anybody while I'm talking, I'm both going to delete your comments, and I'm just going to like dump you out of here, block you, okay? Because I am not going to make this a venue for people being jerks. Let's get it straight. That being said, let's get this question out of the way. I knew it was going to show up tonight. James G. Hey, did you hear about Angry Photographer and Jason? So that being Jason Lanier. Okay. Here's my short answer and then my long answer. Okay. And again, gang, I am begging you, if you have any respect for me, please don't even think about editorializing in this chat window. I am begging you, please. I'll give you my answer, and it's maybe not the answer you expect, but bear with me. But I'm begging you not to editorialize, because there's one simple reason. So let me say that up front. None of us know all the facts. None of us know all the facts. So just chill out. So my response, Jason, before I talk about did I hear about it? How could you not hear about it? Yes, I was aware of Ken Wheeler being very upset and kind of calling out Jason over a problem with the registration and a gentleman that was diagnosed with having cancer, etc. I'm also aware of the fact that Jason came back with a video calling Ken Wheeler the National Enquirer of YouTube photographers or something like that, and basically giving a completely alternative story that sounded like a very plausible story And, also, here's the issue in my mind. Number one, and by the way, there's more to it than that. So if you guys are thinking that stuff is going on that's just about Jason and Ken Wheeler, you might want to go look at the Sony website. That's all I'm saying. So the challenge here is both of those photographers, in my mind, are kind of in the wrong. In Ken's defense, Ken, a lot of people like to hate Ken because he's the angry photographer, and he is tough on people. He speaks out. The guy's got a heart of gold, and the guy is actually really intelligent and really knowledgeable. Sure, I wish he would present things a little bit differently, but you know what? I'm not him, and I can't say that. So the way I look at it is, we're all intelligent people. So when I look at Ken's videos, which I do from time to time, and when I listen to Ken, I'm smart enough to kind of turn off the personality things that really have nothing to do with photography, and I take good information away from Ken. I've learned things from Ken. Hardcore gear stuff, because you guys know I'm not a gear junkie, and when Ken talks about gear, sorry, but it's gospel, man. His stuff is on the money. Okay, so that's how I approach it. And same with Jason. You guys know, you've watched my videos. There are things that Jason does in his videos in terms of reflectors underneath, right? Holding a camera with one hand out here, with one hand in the pocket. I just think it's horrible as an educator to do that, because that's not teaching best practices. It's not teaching the right lessons. But let's be really clear. Jason's an accomplished photographer. Jason, he's got a bigger YouTube following than I do. So, hey, what the heck do I know, right? But, here's the one thing I know about both these guys. They're both working their butts off. And they both bring value if you are intelligent enough to essentially get the value from what they're doing. The fact that they're having, this big debate and these videos, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if they're both in on it and they're both trying to just, do the drama. Kind of like Fro and Tony Northrup with the whole JPEG RAW thing. I mean, it's like, really? Who cares? This stuff ultimately just makes my head explode. But, unfortunately, there are other things at play in the universe here. I'm not going to talk about them because I don't have any, but they also don't have facts face to face. So, at the end of the day, I have a lot of respect for both of these men. I wish neither one of them any ill. I hope that the rumors and the things that I'm hearing are completely false and not true, because you know what? If there is any truth to any of it, it reflects poorly on the entire community, the entire photography community and the entire YouTube photography community. So certainly I don't want any of it to be true, but time will tell. But there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and unfortunately the Jason and Ken thing is probably the smaller part of the story. It's just that's been the very public part until 2 days ago. So we'll see what happens. Okay, but let's get on to it, and we'll deal with facts when facts come out. But I will say to all of you, thank you so much, seriously, for respecting the fact that we don't know a lot other than there's been these video exchanges, and let's see how it plays out, because I think that's that's the right thing to do. Okay, so all right. That being said, I had a bunch of questions come in early. I want to tackle a couple of them because there's a couple really, really good ones here. And then, obviously I see some good ones coming up, and see where LRPS, what's the most interesting and wild prop you've ever used for a portrait shoot? I can't top a dead squid, but I did do seaweed once. How's that one? Okay. So that, I don't know that was the weirdest one, but it might've been. Okay. Yeah, the model thought it was pretty weird. Let's put it that way. So here's one of the early questions I had. I want to hit this one up. This is from Dehan Davis. So a fellow Olympus shooter. In fact, he's one of the Olympus super fans. All right. His question is a bit of a long question, but it's well worded. And this is one that comes up a lot. So follow along because there's some nuances to the answer. Okay. So his question is, when something says that you need a modeling release if the person is identifiable, like for instance, if you submit pictures to the Olympus user gallery, which I have also done, it states that if the person's identifiable, you should have a modeling release. So his question is, how easy to identify do they or the law mean? In other words, if it says, hey, if the person's identifiable, you need a release. Well, how do we define identifiable? He goes on to say, are they saying that enough of the face is visible that anyone knows who the person, is and would easily identify them? Or do they mean that there's, through reasonable effort, using clues in the picture, that they could be identifiable? So as an example, he talks about like athletes in action sports, like, motorcycling stuff and that, where they're wearing numbers. So they've got, helmets and goggles on. You can't see their face. You can't tell what they look like. You have no idea who they are. But if you look at their uniform, with the patches and all that kind of stuff, and then you look at their competition number, you could, in theory, figure out who they are. So, he's looking to see if there's kind of a working definition of what, does identifiable mean. And then he goes on to add, he's not going to use the images commercially. He wants to put them like on social media, potentially upload them to the Olympus user gallery, that kind of stuff. And then he asks, would blacking out the numbers, even be enough? Is that something to consider? Is that going to solve the problem? So it's a great question, especially since we live in a world that it's a little litigious in our world today, right? So I am not a lawyer. Let me put that declaration out there right out of the box, okay? I am not a lawyer, so do not take your legal advice from me. But I want to give you the information that I have always worked with, and it has kept me out of trouble, okay? Part of this advice did come from a lawyer. In fact, I am going to read to you an exact quote from an attorney that I dealt with regards to modeling releases, and that's several years back when I was making sure that I was following best practices, etc. Okay, so quote: taking a photo never requires a model release. The publishing of that photo, including someone's likeness, however, may require a release. Now, by the way, I'm giving you the answer from how the law is, as opposed to a website that says, hey, you need a release or whatever. We're going to deal with that in a second. It goes on to say, generally, a modeling release is only required if the way the photo is published makes it seem that the person in the photo endorses the product, a service, or an organization. A modeling release would almost always be required if the use is for advertising. A model release is not needed for publishing the photo as news or for artistic or editorial expression. Now, that being said, if a company, we'll use Olympus for the user gallery, or any company, lots of companies do this, if they decide to add a layer of rules on top of the defined law, such as, we do not want you to submit your photo unless you have a release for it. And basically what that is they're doing CYA, right? Okay. And I'll explain why they're doing that CYA in a minute, because it's actually pretty smart for them that they do. But then it's not about the law or abiding by the law. It's about abiding by their rules, and their rules are within the law. The reason why they're asking you to, basically provide that information is that their website, and I'll use Olympus again, their user gallery, which their user galleries, by the way, are awesome. Their user gallery is a commercial enterprise and essentially an advertisement of, look how great Olympus is, right? That's the idea. So it could be interpreted, and I say it could be, because we live in a world where people like to just target companies and say, you know what? I've got an attorney that's willing to put in the time and basically work for nothing unless they make the money, and go after a company just for sport, because that happens, right? So the challenge is these companies feel the need to basically cover their butts. So by requiring that, they're making sure that they don't have a problem. So that being said, Dahan, my answer would be to alter the image, to remove a number or remove an identifying feature is not likely to be the smartest way for you to go. I can't speak for Olympus. I can't speak for their website, but I can tell you what I would do. If it was a matter of putting a picture for me in the Olympus user gallery or entering a picture in a contest or something like that, and it was from a sporting event, if the picture is not going to be used as a straight up advertisement or endorsement, And if I am not being paid for what I am doing with that picture, I would have no problem whatsoever submitting that picture, posting it on my website, putting it on Facebook, doing any of those things, provided that at no point in the course of doing that am I editorializing about it. And when I say editorializing, this is different than using it in an editorial context. In other words, I'm not going to say, oh, look how much that person sucks, or look how stupid that person is, right? No editorializing. If I'm simply going to show it as the result of my efforts, I'm not worried about a release. But indeed, if there's any chance that the way that I intend to use that picture is going to be interpreted as an advertisement, endorsement, any of those things that I mentioned, then yes, absolutely, I need a release or I'm not going to post it. So obviously you guys know that most of my work is one-on-one with people. I'm shooting models, I'm shooting portraits, that kind of stuff. So yes, I do releases all the time. The cool part is I do them all electronically by phone. I use an app called Easy Release. I talk about that in the video that I did about iPhone apps. It's a great release, makes it super simple. That way what I do is I have all my releases automatically stored in iCloud and Dropbox, two completely separate places. So I basically have, redundancy and a backup built in. I don't save printed copies. This behind me right there is a file cabinet. 3 of the drawers in that file cabinet are paper modeling releases from decades that I have collected, over the years, and in file folders by subject. Just tons and tons and tons of them. I have, over the last couple of years, been having interns and college students that I come across that are looking at a couple extra bucks actually scan them so that I have digital copies, so that my goal is ultimately to be able to get everything in one place. But I can't tell you how comfortable you should be with worrying or not worrying about the release, but I can tell you that for me, if I was going out shooting that sporting event that you're talking about, Dehan, and I was going to post it on Facebook or any of those things, I would not be at all concerned with the release. But indeed, even for that matter, if I was going to enter a photo contest, like I don't know what the terms are of the photo crowd contest that I told you guys about, but if the terms were, they were allowed to turn around and use that picture as advertising afterwards, which is completely legit and reasonable considering they're giving you prizes, right? If those were the terms, I would not feel comfortable entering the photograph unless I had a release, because that way there's no chance of it coming back around that I profited from and the photo and other commercial entities profited from the use of the photo. So I hope that helps. The best advice I can give you, though, since you're asking me a legal question, is consult an attorney. Done. Okay. Deval RG, whichever. Do I have an app for contracts as well? No, don't use an app for contracts. Contracts are straight up legal documents, man. Modeling releases are too. All right, let me be fair here. Modeling releases are too, but basically modeling releases are fairly kind of templated things. Contracts, you don't use an app for a contract unless you have an app that allows you to upload your contract and then use it. No, if you are looking for kind of pre-written contracts that are going to be usable, shall we say, you should look to, for instance, PPA, Professional Photographers of America, or depending on what kind of work you're doing, look at ASMP, which is the American Society of Media Photographers. The members of both of those organizations have access to templated contracts, but even then, they're all going to tell you, consult an attorney. I mean, that's just how it works, okay? But do not buy an app for its contracts. That would, I think, actually be one of this most foolish things you do. Mario, this is what happens, guys. Mario, unless you're an attorney, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, and all the rest of you, stop commenting on the rules for copyright. Because if you listen to what I said, again, come on, man, let's stop this internet stupidity here. So, Mario, your comment. Under U.S. law, copyright in a photograph is the property of the person who presses the shutter on a camera, not the person who owns the camera, not even the person in the photo. That has absolutely nothing to do, nothing, zero, zilch, with the question that we're dealing with here. So it's actually just muddying the waters and confusing the issue. The fact of the matter is, copyright of an image has nothing to do with me. If I'm the subject in a photo, I own the copyright of me, who I am. So if you take a photo of me, you don't have the right to do whatever the hell you want with it. You just don't, because I own me. You own the picture, but I own me. So owning a copyright does not give you the right to do whatever you want for a picture. And this is the thing that you guys don't get it. You're being really foolish about the stuff you read on the internet. Here's the thing. Yes, Angry Joe, I'm sorry, that kind of stuff drives me nuts. You know, when I give you an answer, if you folks would actually listen to me, I frame that answer with what I know for a fact and what I don't know, and I try to point you towards resources to get the proper information. I'm not an expert, and I don't play an expert, and it drives me nuts when people on the internet play experts. So come on, gang. You learn more by listening and thinking and considering. But that statement about copyright law, and I hear that from photographers all the time. In Mario's defense, I hear that from photographers all the time. Okay? Like, I own the copyright side. That is the most BS thing ever because it's got nothing to do with the person in the picture. They own their copyright. They own their image. You do not own it. So you all need to do a lot more research before you're going to dig your heels in and pound the tables like, I own it. No, you don't. Okay? You own the picture. But that does not give you the right to do with whatever you want. You know, ironically, I'll give you guys an example. This is fact. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. You go to New York City. You're on vacation. Or you're like me, you live near New York City. You decide you're going to go down to the World Trade Center and to the Oculus. And you're going to take a picture of the Oculus because it's such a cool building. So you go inside and you take this really cool picture of the roof of the Oculus, right? And then a couple months later, for whatever reason, you submit it to a magazine. Or, excuse me, not a magazine, but you submit it to maybe a stock photo agency, and a company buys it to put in their ad. So guess what? Not only that company, but you are on the hook because the Oculus is a private building. The Oculus requires you to have an image release for any photos that you take in the Oculus, even though thousands and thousands of people travel through that building every day, and thousands of people a week take pictures in that building. They own the copyright to their pictures, but they do not have the right to sell those images unless they are for editorial purposes. But if one of those images that they sell were to be used in an ad, they are now on the hook for a lawsuit from the owners of the Oculus. So, you know, again, gang, you need to do your research on this stuff. Copyright has nothing to do with who owns what's in the image. There's a big difference, okay? You know, if you read copyright law carefully, and again, I am not a lawyer, so I'm not talking about interpreting it. I'm talking about just taking the time to sit down and read both copyright law and also the rules behind modern releases. There's a really good argument to say that even posting a photograph of someone on Facebook should require a modern release. So, Cat Panda, that's you, not me. I've got a perfect stream going out. Sorry, everything's good. So you may have a bad connection between you and YouTube. Okay, so anyway, guys, please, you know, make sure when Mario, I know you meant to be helpful, but make sure when you guys are chiming in on stuff like that, always give context and really consider the question that you're answering. Okay, because this is how we get so much of this crazy information floating around out there. All right. Anytime you're dealing with legal stuff, guys, see an attorney. That's the biggest thing, okay? Baker Mayfield, thanks for helping me build a homemade studio setup via tools from Lowe's and Home Depot. Awesome, man. Hey, I'll tell you what, the DIY stuff is like the best. In fact, if you guys didn't see my video from this past week, the DIY Justin clamp, there it is. Whoops, let's go this way. There's the DIY Justin clamp that I was showing you, okay? It's got the adjustable stand mount on the bottom. Whoops, if I loosen it all the way, there you go. You can even mount an umbrella right in there. You've got the thread or the stud here that will fit into a Manfrotto super clamp. You've got the Oben ball head on the top here. And the reason for the pivot grips, obviously you can put something in straight, but with the pivot grips, you can adjust them. So you can even angle, like if you're gonna put the Walmart reflector in, you can angle it accordingly. So that's how that works. DIY stuff, man, is like a ton of fun. Okay, so in fact, let me give you guys the link to that video so that you have it. Where are we at here? The Justin clamps. That's it. All right. Noel, I use Wirecast Pro. It's about $1,000. Really inexpensive. So yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you, for what you pay for Wirecast Pro, it sucks. It just does. But it's unfortunately kind of the best that's out there at the moment. There are some free versions like OBS, but they're really clunky and kind of even tougher to use yet. So, all right, next one here. Let's see, where are we at here? So Karen's got a question. This was a modeling question about working with models. So, she's been asked to do some shots of a 15-year-old girl who wants to go into modeling in the UK, in England, okay? She'll be talking with the girl's mother tomorrow, so she's looking for any advice on how to approach this with her. Should she get the kid to play characters or kind of do it as a portrait shoot to show her personality? She's looking for like a simple 1 or 2 hour shoot, basically she's asking, is this something that somebody with more modeling experience should be doing, or could she do it? And I asked her a few follow-up questions, one being, where's this 15-year-old live, and what are some of the stats on this 15-year-old, like how tall? So this teenager lives 30 minutes outside of London, and she's between 5'6" and 5'7". So Karen, here's the real challenge about your situation, and believe me, we deal with the exact same thing here in the US. I deal with this all the time. In fact, I spent a day shooting a teenager this week, which is something that I very, very rarely do. And the only reason I agreed to do it is because the shoot was actually for my YouTube channel, not for a modeling portfolio. The problem with a 15-year-old is they're going to do very little work, especially not if she's 5'6" or 5'7". The likelihood that this kid's going to do a lot of modeling is very, very slim. So, my advice to you would be, if this is a scenario where the mom just really wants the kid to have fun and she's going to submit her to some agencies and that, sure, take it on and let yourself have fun with it. But you got to be honest when you look at this kid. So I don't know if you've met the kid or not, and I'm not trying to be mean here, but things we got to understand about the modeling industry, folks, it's not going to change for any one person. It's just not, okay? The whole bit about models being thin and, having big lips, nice eyes, all that stuff, that's never going to change. Never. All the political correctness in the world is not going to change that for one reason: wallets. Okay? Advertising follows the money, period. So, the advertising world would change tomorrow. They would start showing size 14 women in Victoria's Secret lingerie tomorrow if people would buy that lingerie. But people won't. So it's not going to change, right? So this is not about politically correctness. So bottom line, you got to look at this kid and you got to be really honest. Like, is this a face you're going to see in magazines? Is this the kind of face that you see in the fashion layouts? Is this the kind of face that you see in ads? And if it's not, at 15, tell the kid to grow up. And granted, in the UK, 15 is like 18 here. But it's still, she's very young and she's short. So she's not going to do any fashion. At 5'6", 5'7", she's not going to do fashion. Fashion, even in the UK, 5'10", 5'11", they're tall, period. And just like in the US, occasionally you'll get a girl that's 5'9", maybe even 5'8". And if the girl has some amazingly interesting look, maybe 5'7". But when I say amazingly interesting, I'm going to use one example, and that's Kate Moss, okay? Kate Moss is 5'7". Kate Moss was very successful, but keep in mind they coined the term heroin chic based on Kate Moss. So it's not something I would particularly be encouraging a 15-year-old to do. So my advice, Karen, you kind of got to follow your own heart in terms of what you feel you're delivering or not delivering. But I would just say, don't get this kid's hopes up too much. That would be the most honest advice I would tell you. In terms of, should it be another photographer or you? That's really got to do with your confidence level. So if you then you have no clue what you're doing. Okay. So, and I've talked about that in a lot of these, these talk chats. Okay. Yeah, CJ Ware, there we go again. The trick is, so here, let me read this. Guys, you're killing me tonight. The answer here, I think the trick is, Karen, is not to give the kid false hope and make sure she knows what the industry is like. It's brutal, and unless she's thick-skinned, etc. Say that it's brutal? You go in, they talk to you, they smile at you, they're nice to you, they say goodbye, and then they never call. But it's not brutal. The only reason the industry is brutal is because people are lazy. It's because people go into the industry not informed. People go into the industry without doing their research. People go into the industry because they want to have fun. Tell me what business is out there. Name me one business where the job description includes the word fun. Right? So why do people think that modeling would be fun? No, it's work. It's a job. And here's the tough part about modeling. Modeling is the only business that I know of, well, modeling and acting, we're going to put the two side by side, that has one guarantee. And that particular guarantee is failure. No one gets every job. So the only guarantee is failure. So when we're talking about a 15-year-old, if that 15-year-old internalizes that failure and makes it about themselves, then that is brutal. So I'll agree with the statement on those terms. But brutal the way you see it in TV, brutal the way that it is referred to in the movies and that kind of stuff, no, the real world doesn't happen that way because people don't like confrontation. People don't, don't want to do that. And Karen, you're right. If this kid's looking to do fashion, even in the UK, she's not going to do fashion at that age. And at that height, period. She's just not. And that's driven by the designers. The designers want the girls tall because it allows them to show more material, period. Okay? So that's really what you're dealing with there. Okay? All right. I've got another question from the UK here. This one is from, oh gosh, I missed his name. I've got his username, but I don't have his name. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Was it Adam? I missed it. So anyway, his username is Tenonix. Okay, so let me read this question. Do I have any tips for fears and nerves? He's doing a photo shoot for school tomorrow, and he's nervous. He's nervous about getting the photos wrong. He's 17 years old, and he's been asked to take portraits of his year group for their Leavers books, which for us in America, I'm pretty sure that's the equivalent of a yearbook. Okay, they asked him, since they know that he's good at photography. He has a backdrop. He has two continuous lights that he's going to use. He's going to be doing portraits basically from the waist up, and they'll be holding like a board in front of them that has like a message or a word that describes themselves the best. Okay. So Tenonix, there it is, Alex. Alex, I'm so sorry I forgot your name. I saw it go by earlier and I missed it. So Alex, my response to you is, don't be afraid, man. Go for it. The fact that you are afraid and the fact that you are sitting here tonight and you're asking this question already guarantees me you're going to do just fine. Best thing you can do is go get all your stuff packed. Make sure you got it all ready. Check and double check that everything's there. Draw yourself a little diagram. Or if you're really paranoid, set up your gear at home right now and basically do your lighting that you want to do tomorrow and take a couple test shots. Get your mom or dad to sit down, or if you have a sibling, get them to sit down and try it out. And if you're super, super worried, even take a tape measure, like so that you can measure the distance from your subject to your lights and where you put them. And just diagram it. Pack it all up, check it and double check, make sure you got everything, and then go to bed. And don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. So the reason why I'm confident you're going to be fine is because you care and because it matters to you. And because they picked you because you're good at photography. So believe me, whatever you do, don't psych yourself out of this, because at your age, this is a time, man. Be fearless. Don't worry. If you go into jobs with an open, and when I say jobs, this is a job, even though you're not getting paid probably, but it's a task. Somebody said, hey, we want you to do this, so it's a job, right? Go into it with an open mind and a positive attitude, and you will run into problems. Keep calm. Solve the problems. I really wanted to say keep calm and mind the gap. Probably saw that on a t-shirt somewhere in the UK, right? But no, so keep calm and solve problems, all right? But if you're super, super worried, and I know it's already late there, but set your stuff up really quick and do your test shots, or get up extra early in the morning, set it up and do your test shots. But seriously, just relax and go for it and do it. Understand that these pictures you're talking about, for the Leavers books of the kids holding a sign that describes them or that type of stuff, what's the most important part about those pictures? It's not how good is your lighting. It's the personality. So make sure that whatever you do, you have fun. Make sure that your classmates are having fun. And if you keep it fun for everybody, I promise you, everybody is going to love those pictures. Seriously, it's the best advice I can give you. Just go have fun and don't worry about it. You're going to do fine. Okay? All right. So let's see here. Gregory. My nephew asked me to do some maternity photos for his wife, and I plan to make them part of my portfolio. Any advice on how to produce great shots? Wow. So, could you ask me a slightly broader question there, Gregory? Produce a great shot in what way, man? Like, are you talking like, how do I use my camera? What's my exposure? Do you mean how to set up lighting? If so, what lighting do you have? Where are you shooting it? On location? In a studio? Man, I would love to help you, but you've asked me a question at about 100,000 feet. How about if you get it down to 10,000 feet? And then I can give you some information. I can tell you, right out of the box, you might want to go ahead and, follow some photographers that are really good at maternity stuff. Like, for instance, the Olympus visionary, Tracy McGlasky. She's based in Ohio. She's got a lot of great articles on the Olympus website. If you go to the Inspiration Center, a lot of really, really good stuff there. You can follow her on social media. She's got some really great stuff out there. But you got to give me a little bit more focused question, man. Because your question's so broad. Like, what do you want me to tell you? It's like you want me to tell you every single thing there is. So give me a little more to work with, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, ABCD, new subscriber. Awesome, man. Glad you love them. They are every Wednesday right now, 6 p.m. here on the eastern coast of the U.S. They're supposed to be an hour, but, man, I can't tell time. So they're always usually like 90 minutes, okay? So let's see. All right, CJ Ware, I'm glad you clarified yourself because that's much better. Yes, it is brutal on a kid when they don't get a call back, okay? But the industry itself, yeah, it's just so we're clear, it's not like it is in the movies. It's just not. And I say that in defense of the industry, but it's simply because people don't like confrontation. So, all right, let's get back up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, ABCD again. Hi from the Netherlands. Cool. I have a question: how to light a subject in a background with backlighting without overexposing the background. Really? You're going to ask me that question? Well, gosh. Okay, so here's what we have to do because I can't let you off that easy. So I'm going to assume that you are new to following me. So let's switch over to my YouTube channel, okay? And I'm going to do a little search here. See the little magnifying glass? When you get to the YouTube channel, click on that, and let's do, I think it's white background. If we search for white background, we should find the video. And let's see. When the results come out, there it is. Simple white background lighting technique, okay? So I'm going to paste this in here. I'll save you doing the search, but it means that you clearly haven't watched all of my videos. The answer to your question is in that video. But I want to make sure that you understand something, just in case you're really new to lighting. In that video, I actually use a big octadome as the background. You don't have to use an octadome to get the background that you're asking me about. You're asking me, how do you do the backlighting without overexposing the background? Watch the video. The technique that I use for establishing my exposure in that video, it doesn't matter if it's an octadome in the background or if it's a white seamless paper. That doesn't matter what it is, okay? So yeah, watch that video. That'll tell you exactly what you need, okay? Deck Luck, Tanonics, practice makes perfect. Yes, it absolutely does, man. Could not say that better myself. So very, very true. Let's see here. Scroll up. James Lewis, am I doing any videos on the mag mods? So the mag mods are included in the modifier series that I'm doing. So somebody asked me a little bit earlier about that. How's it coming along? June. It'll be late June, just like I said from the beginning. I told you guys when I first talked about it. It's going to be June before I get them done. We'll be starting with speedlights, then we'll be doing studio modifiers. I've got 48 different modifiers that I'm doing comparisons of. So it's going to be very detailed, very in-depth, and the best part of it is it's going to frustrate the heck out of a lot of people because people still want me to say, what's the best modifier? Or what's the best modifier for this? And what's the best modifier for that? And guess what? I will not be saying that because there is no such thing. The best modifier is the one you have. Learn how to use it. I've already given you guys videos where I've used a shoot-through umbrella that cost me $6 and made beauty dish lighting with it. So how can we argue that a beauty dish is better, right? So at the end of the day, if you understand the inverse square law, you can do darn near anything you want with any of them. And I will say, James Lewis, in terms of like how to use the mag mods and that kind of stuff, you're not going to see me do those. No. And there's a simple reason why. You guys have heard me talk about this from the get-go. I won't do videos where there's no need for the videos. MagMod as a company has done a brilliant job at building a learning community with really, really great information and tricks and tips and hacks for using their stuff. So join the MagMod community group on Facebook. It's run by MagMod, and obviously check out all the tutorials and stuff that they have on their website. But MagMod as a company has been producing some outstanding learning materials. And I'm a big fan, gang, and I'm not trying to say that you should do this with me. I'm just saying in general. I'm a big fan that if there's something you want to learn about, find the best source. And the best source, there's a couple ways to define what's best. Number one, best information, obviously. Okay. Second, a source that you can relate to. In other words, you like the way that source teaches or presents information. But I promise you that when it comes to MagMod, their website, their Facebook group, that's the place to go. Really, really great stuff there. Okay. So, hey, Alex, by the way, I want to know how that shoot turns out. And I hope if you haven't done it already, please join my Facebook group. In fact, here, gang, let me give you guys the link to my Facebook group. Alex, please make sure you join the group. And I would like to see some of these pictures when you're done. I'll get you some feedback on them. So please make sure that you share them. Okay. So, all right. Where are we at here now? Lynn, you're here late. She obviously doesn't know what we do to people that show up late. Okay. So let's see. I got another question here. Guys, if you got more questions, dump them in here. So awesome. Cool. All right. So A Light Writer, what do you think of the Olympus 3 viewer software? Provided that you practice good camera techniques and don't do stuff like replace skies, cloning out stuff, etc., is it good enough? You need to travel light and pinch pennies on vacation. So I'm honestly not sure what the traveling light and pinching pennies on vacation have to do with the software. Okay. The Olympus 3 viewer software is actually pretty nice. I don't use it. Full disclosure, you guys know I love Olympus and all that stuff, but I don't get paid by Olympus to say things, okay? I'm telling you what I think. I don't use it simply because in my workflow, obviously I need cloning and background replacements and that kind of stuff. Plus I do liquefy and all those things. And when I am tethering, I am always working with Capture One along with the Olympus Capture software, which is what you use to actually download your images. So if you're finding that it's meeting your needs, that's the only question you have to answer. If it's meeting your needs, it's great, right? It just simply is. My bigger question would be though, that what's the traveling light got to do with the software? Because I don't think Olympus Viewer 3 weighs any more than Photoshop does. Like, am I missing something? I totally get the pinching pennies. Photoshop's more expensive. And the Olympus Viewer 3 software is free. That's cool. But if you're planning like a big trip or that kind of thing, the one thing I would suggest, and different people will clearly have a different view on this. Let's be straight. But for me, if I was going to go on vacation and I'm going to shoot a lot of stuff, there's no way in the world I'm doing my post-processing while I'm on vacation. I want to be able to come back. I want to be able to edit through my material with a clear mind, not in the moment, and really take my time with it. You guys have heard me talk many, many times. All digital files need to be processed, period. If not, you're just being lazy and you don't care about your photography, period. I'm not going to flex on that. That goes back to, how are these cameras designed? What's the intent behind the file formats? They are meant to be processed, period. So DMAC, can I tell you the name of the 3D software that I use? You forget the name. The name of the software is Set-A-Light. I'm going to type it in here in the chat. Set-A-Light 3D. And it is from a company called Elixir Software. And just in case you Google and you start seeing information, so they're coming out later this year with a version 2. So it's V2.0. Version 2 is going to be really, really awesome. Like fully posable models, everything. In fact, next week, they are giving me, this is what I get for being special. They're actually from Germany via an online tool. They're going to give me a walkthrough of the new software so I get to see it and play with it for the first time. But here's the cool part. If you buy it now, DMAC, you will automatically get the upgrade when it comes out. So you don't have to wait. So I would encourage you, Yeah, I love that software. The software is awesome. There's 2 versions. There's the basic and the pro version. There are some feature differences. Make sure you read them. Most of you only need the basic version, okay? But yeah, great stuff. So, all right. Daryl Lafferty. Daryl, it was great to meet you, by the way, when I was down in San Antonio. Daryl came out to see me. Well, actually, Daryl was at my talk, and he also came out to see me at the Olympus Drinking Click. So all the time we hear that the image quality on a full-frame camera is better than on a 4:3 camera. What is your definition of true image quality? Ooh, that's deep. All right, so let's make it simple. At least this is the way I look at it, okay? If we go by the numbers, so if we're going strictly by the tech, then technically full-frame is better. Sure, absolutely. Why? Because it's got more pixels to work with. It's got a larger sensor area, so it's recording more data. It generally allows better low light situations to some degree because there's more space between the pixels to be able to record. All that stuff. Better dynamic range, yada yada yada. But that falls under the category of pixel peeping. And what I mean by that is, in my opinion, years ago, we crossed the line of need. How many megapixels do we need? How low a light do we need to be working? How sharp an image do we need? Back in the early 2000s, I was using a Nikon D1 with 2.7 megapixels, and I had images that were, displayed on billboards, and they looked amazing. I was printing 20 by 24, 36 by 48 inch prints, and they looked amazing. So, now, obviously 6 months ago, I switched to Olympus, so I'm working with, micro 4/3, and I'm, printing stuff. If you were in Las Vegas at WPPI, Olympus had one of my images in the back of their booth, 8 feet by 6 feet. You could stand there and count the eyelashes on the ground. You could stand there and look up, and you could count the eyelashes on the photograph. So there's a difference between what is best and what do you need. A lot of people are always simply going to go for best because they don't feel that they're doing themselves justice unless they can say, I've got the best. But the best doesn't make their pictures any better. As much as I love my gear and as much as I praise Olympus and I'm so thrilled I made the change, yada, 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 it's not the camera that makes the picture. The camera's the tool. The camera's the equivalent of a screwdriver or a hammer to a contractor. Or, maybe a more advanced contractor, it's, the equivalent of the right kind of saw. Whatever. But the point is the camera's the tool that we use. The camera's not what makes the picture. So, at the end of the day, you can have all those megapixels. And come on, let's face it, guys. You're all on Facebook groups. You all watch YouTube videos. You all see this stuff. There's plenty of photographers out there that got the biggest, the best of everything. And they suck. Period. Right? So, that's going to be one of those things. So there's always going to be a group of people that just, they're not going to be satisfied unless they can say, I've got the biggest and the best, because that gives them comfort. Honestly, that's what it does. It's a psychological thing. It gives them comfort. I totally get it. I'm not putting it down. Deck Luck, come on, man. I'm all about the Whopper with cheese. All about the Whopper with cheese. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of one of those things. So I guess my short answer there, Daryl, is like, don't sweat it, man. Do your thing. And if your photographs are turning out with the quality level that you want and the way that you want, then you are using the best camera, hands down. And that's entirely how I look at it. So, okay. Let's see here. DMAC, do I have a code for the 3D software? Actually, you know what? Oh, it's really bad that I don't know that. I may, DMAC. Let me see here. Hang on a second. Let's, and if I do, I'll share it with you guys right now. Yes, I do. They promised me they would keep it live. So here, if you go to my website, I'm going to put the link in here, joeedelman.com/discounts. You'll find it halfway through the page there. It's Edel20, EDEL20, but you got to use that link that's there, and that'll get you 20% off of either version, the basic or the pro version that's there. And then, like I said, if you buy now, and they may be talking, I haven't been to the website in a while. They may be talking about it on their website already, the version 2.0. But yeah, my understanding is if you purchase now, you will get the automatic upgrade, without having to pay for that. So, you'll be good to go. Okay. All right. So, let's see here. Frank, why Capture One over Lightroom? Because Lightroom sucks. It just does. Sorry. It's big, it's bulky, it's slow. The catalog method in Lightroom is stupid. It just gets big, and the bigger it gets, the slower the program runs. Done. So actually tethering between those two programs, there's no comparison. Man, you get gray hair waiting for Lightroom to download images. You just do, okay? It's fine if you're doing like product work and the product's not going anywhere because the product won't get bored. You might get bored, but the product won't get bored. But if you're working with people, Capture One Plus, if we're talking skin tones and that kind of stuff, when it comes to the actual processing, hands down, Capture One is the most powerful, most feature-filled raw processor on the market, period. Irene hates Lightroom too. Yeah, who doesn't hate Lightroom? So, I mean, don't get me wrong, gang. Lightroom has its audience and it has its place, okay? For the casual shooter, even for like event photographers, doing weddings, events, stuff like that, Lightroom is a great program to work with, providing you're willing to do the maintenance on, your catalogs. Keep your catalogs small so that your computer's going to run fast, all that kind of stuff. Lightroom is great in the right situations. But for us people shooters that are doing, portrait work, also that are going to do high-end retouching, that kind of stuff, Lightroom is not, it's not even in the same realm. It's just not. Somebody said here, I just bought a new Powerhouse PC and Lightroom is still slow. It is, yeah. It's just the nature of the beast. So Karen, cull and bridge, and then great for batch edits in Lightroom. And that's what I do. I actually use bridge for my culling, and then I use Photoshop for all of my processing. And I will say I'm not switching, so don't get excited. But I've been dabbling and playing a lot lately with Luminaire 2018, and it is actually like amazing. In fact, you know what? I'll tell you what. I happen to have 2 codes for a free license for Luminaire 2018 from the folks at Skylum. They were good enough to give these to me. So I'll tell you what I'll do, okay? We'll run a quick little contest here. So for the first 2 people that type into the chat window the brand name of the ball heads that I used in my Justin Clamp video, my last video, for the first 2 people, I will send you the license code for a full download of Luminaire 2018. Okay? So, Cat Panda, Scott doesn't use Luminaire. Scott's the president of Skylum, the folks that make Luminaire. So, yeah, Scott Bourne's a big deal when it comes to that. So, everybody's guessing and they're all wrong so far. Come on, guys, go watch the video. So, Christopher Sayer, I do not have any tutorials on bridge. No, not Manfrotto. Manfrotto is grossly overpriced. So I'm not going to do. In fact, actually, it's a really good question, gang. I will not do a lot of Photoshop videos. All right, you can all stop. Joshua and Ajax, got them. Okay. So Joshua and Ajax. Or Ajax, I know your email address. Joshua, here you go. Whoops, one sec. If I could type, this would be a lot easier. There we go. All right. Joshua, there's my email address. Write it down now because I'm going to delete it out of this thread in a second. Email me. Let me know your username and obviously your email address in return, and I will send it to you. Ajax, I'll get you yours later tonight. I know your email address. That's cool. So it is the Oben ball heads, okay? So anyway, Photoshop tutorials. Sorry, I got completely sidetracked there, Christopher, because all the answers started coming in. I'm not going to do a lot of Photoshop tutorials because there are 2 YouTubers that I strongly recommend, and actually 2 and another one that's a really close behind. This guy hasn't been on my radar for very long, but since he's been on my radar, I'm finding that I really like the stuff that he does. So first and foremost, obviously, we got Aaron Nace with Flern. I highly recommend him. Tons of stuff out there. And even on the free side, obviously, he's got a whole paid side of what he does, but he's got a lot of free stuff out there. Dinesh at Pix Imperfect. Awesome awesome stuff. And I love this guy's personality. He's Indian and he's incredible. And he's just great to watch. And also a guy named Colin Smith, Photoshop Cafe. The three of them, if you guys are looking for, top-notch Photoshop, Lightroom, Bridge, tutorial work, those are the guys that you want to check out. They really are. So I've done a few little videos along the way with that stuff, but I usually try to keep it to stuff that's kind of like, here's a unique trick that I use. But in terms of actually teaching Photoshop and that kind of stuff, nah, there's nothing I'm going to bring to the table that's not already being done really, really well. And so I don't want to I'm not a big fan of just flooding the space just to flood the space. So that's mainly why. Okay. All right. So let's see. Somebody up here talked about Darktable being open source and ever improving. Darktable is, I've heard good things. I've never used it. So let me be completely straight there. Never used it. My experience over the years with, open source is, unfortunately, it can be good, but it falls short. I have heard from a lot of people, Darktable's really improving, making progress. Bottom line is it's got a long way to go. But if you are poor or cheap and you don't have the money, then yes, that's definitely an option. And for those of you talking about Luminar, stay tuned. Like, seriously, big things coming for Luminar this year. I can't say yet, but I know. And let's just say that of all the Lightroom competitors that are out there, so keep in mind, Capture One is not a competitor to Lightroom. It's not. In fact, it would be the other way around, really. Capture One is just a raw processor. In fact, go to their website. That's what they tell you, that they're not designed for asset management, all that other stuff. They are a raw processor. That's their focus. That's what they focus on. Lightroom is much more than that. It's much broader. So Capture One is not really a competitor to Lightroom. It's just not, okay? Because Capture One blows Lightroom away in the category that it's designed to be used for. However, we do have now a lot of competitors starting to work their way up when it comes to, both Lightroom and Photoshop. And I will tell you that Luminar is probably best positioned in the market to give Lightroom a real serious run for the money. And it's going to be a little bit later this year before you see the last pieces kind of released. But I promise you that you're going to want to pay attention to it. I'm not saying, hey, you're all going to want to switch. No. But it's a very, very impressive program. Frank Rosetta, how's Camera Raw in Photoshop? The exact same it is in Lightroom, because it's exactly the same. So if you don't understand how the two programs work, gang, like if you go into your system files, like program files in Windows and system files in Mac, and you find the Camera Raw plugin and just rename it, okay? Don't delete it, but just rename it. You won't be able to launch Photoshop or Lightroom. The two programs share one program. The program they share, it's called Camera Raw plugin, right? So in Lightroom, it's the develop panel. In Photoshop, it shows up as the Camera Raw plugin. It's the exact same piece of software. Nerd45, no, I am not connected to Luminaire. Why is it the minute somebody says something good about something, they think that like you're on the take, right? And what does it matter if you're telling the truth? So I'm not. I'm a big fan of Scott Bourne. Scott Bourne is a North American president of Luminaire. Scott Bourne also happens to be an Olympus visionary. That's how I met the man. I've been aware of the man for decades. I had the good fortune of meeting him initially because of Olympus, but no, I'm not affiliated with them at all. And even if I was, I wouldn't be affiliated if I didn't believe in the product. No company offers me enough to sacrifice my reputation in terms of what I'm promoting and why I'm promoting it. So that's just never going to happen, gang. Okay. So Deck, you're right. Luminaire was originally for Mac, but the Windows version is catching up and just about 100% caught up to the Mac. And I think you're going to see it's going to take its final jump with the new features that are coming out later this year, because there's some really, really cool stuff that's coming for it. So, All right, let's see here. Let's see. Chassis just came in. Hearing some on Lightroom and Capture One. Yeah, you're going to want to go back and check. But so anyway, Frank, basically Camera Raw is the same in both programs. There's no difference because Camera Raw is Camera Raw, period. It's not two separate things. So I'll be still using Aperture. Can't wait for a better option than Adobe. Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that now. Start looking at what Luminaire is doing. I mean, Skylum is the company, but Luminaire is the software. And there are some others out there. What is the other one? Gosh, I cannot. On One is another company they've got their Photo Raw program, which is also starting to get some attention. In my opinion, it's not quite there yet, but. Complete full disclosure, I have not used it. So I'm basing that on the things that I've been told by people that I know and respect. I'm just not hearing the kinds of things that would make me actually, consider making the switch yet. So, Robert Julian, Florence great, although me being pissed on me lost some time Googling for FLURN. That's awesome, man. I assure you, Robert, you're probably not the only person that has tried spelling it that way. Okay. That's really good. So, Gary, thanks for the Justin Clamp video. My parts are in order. Just what I was looking for. Awesome. Justin Clamp, they're the weirdest doggone looking things. I don't care if you build mine or you buy one for double the price. They're the weirdest looking things, but they are truly like, just ridiculously useful. So I am firmly of the philosophy, like every photographer that does any kind of lighting, studio or location, ought to have at least two of them. And when I say lighting, I'm talking even using reflectors, ought to have at least two of them in their kit. So obviously, and hey, I will give you guys a little tip. So somebody on YouTube suggested this after I did it. Now, I have not had a problem to date, but the suggestion was actually a very good problem. So the suggestion was considering adding lock washers instead of the regular washers that I used. So, ironically, I do all these DIY things. My father, who passed away many, many years ago, probably laughs from his grave every time I do something like this, because when I was a kid, my father was very mechanical. He worked in a factory. He was essentially an uneducated engineer. He could fix anything. It used to drive him nuts because I couldn't do a screwdriver. I could never remember which way do you turn the damn screwdriver. So the fact that I've become known for DIY stuff, I'm sure my father is just looking down on this, scratching his head I just don't get it. So I'm not amazing with tools and stuff like that. I guess I have good spatial skills and I come up with the ideas. But a couple people pointed out that if you really want to make sure these things lock down solid, use lock washers instead of regular flat washers, and they're correct. I didn't think of that because when I first built it, I actually had the lock washers here, so I used what I had. I've had no problems with mine coming loose. Now, I will be completely honest. I tightened mine wicked tight, really worked them down, but yeah, I had no problem. But indeed, I think most engineering types would agree that a lock washer would make more sense, and it's going to be much more likely to hold and not slip. Okay, so yeah, Ajax, the drill in the hole on the other side, that was problem solving, man. I mean, literally, that's all that is. So I will take credit for that. That's problem solving, because when I first started out, the idea of trying to get that screw in there and hold it down tight, I couldn't get it tight enough. And I was going to try a lock washer on that, but I realized I still wouldn't be able to get it tight enough. So then I thought, well, yeah, wow, if I drill the extra hole, I can put the screwdriver through the hole and bingo. So hey guys, this stuff is all about solving problems. So that's the key. Okay. So let's see here. Let's see, Mo, you have Luminaire, so the new feature. Yeah, it's actually features. But yeah, and I know there's been some articles out there already, but I haven't read them all, so I don't want to talk about them just in case I'm talking about the piece that I'm not supposed to talk about. I'm sorry. But basically, let me just say this. Their goal, which they make no secret about, their goal is they're going head-to-head with Lightroom, right? Period. They're going head-to-head with Lightroom, and their goal is to make a better product. So start thinking of all the things that you don't like about Lightroom, and you can pretty much assume, not always a good plan, but you can pretty much assume that Skylum and Luminaire, they are looking for ways to match, improve, or better what you've got in Lightroom. So that'll give you a hint of maybe, kind of what's coming, right? Okay. So Let's see, Mark LeBlanc, when will you begin releasing the lighting and modifier videos? My gosh, I said that earlier. I'll be sending them out. It'll be like mid to late June. They're going to come out, which I said in the very beginning when I talked about it. I'm doing 48 plus modifiers. But please be clear, gang. It's going to frustrate a lot of you. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm not going to say this is best for a headshot and this is best for a full-length picture. No. Really what my goal is I'm going to compare all 48 of these modifiers to prove to most of you that you spend way too much money on modifiers. That's really what I'm hoping to accomplish. If you really want to know that's my goal, is to stop people from buying so much stupid lighting equipment and then still sucking at lighting, right? It's not the modifier. Just like your camera isn't what makes a great picture, the modifier is not what makes great light. It's how you use the modifier that makes great light. So yeah, so it's coming. It's in the works. I've already done a ton of shooting for it. I'm not going to lie, man, this is like a nightmare project with all these to try and put it together in a way that's kind of cohesive through a series of videos, because it's going to be a series of videos. I can't get it all into one video. We'll be starting with speed lights. I'm going to be doing the mag mods, the Rogue Flash Benders, the LumaQuest, and also one called Spinlight 360, which is kind of a new entry to the market, which is kind of a really cool little modifier. So that's where we'll be starting, and then we'll be going into the bigger modifiers, which can be used on speed lights or strobes. And I'll be working with modifiers from a bunch of companies. Interfit has provided me with the bulk of it. They've been great. Also some PhotoFlex stuff, some Fovatech stuff, bunch of different brands for different mods. So there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. So Steve Trotter, you're righty tighty. You're right, and that's pretty much the only way I remember it today is righty tighty, lefty loosey. So. Troy, nylon nuts should be enough. Yeah, I mean, nylon nuts may work, but the bottom line is, something that is going to help prevent the slipping. If you are not strong enough to really tighten down those screws, indeed, a regular washer, could start to slip fairly easy. So, okay. James Lewis, so is Luminaire a one-time buy? I don't think it's going to be a one-time buy forever. I'm sure there's going to be upgrade costs, over time. I believe that's happened once already. But the cool part is Luminaire is inexpensive. I think the program's like less than $70, and upgrades are going to be cheaper yet. So we're not talking anything in the realm of Photoshop, type stuff. And when you buy it, you own it. So it's no subscription model. Now, who knows? Maybe that changes down the road. That's certainly a possibility. But at this point, their goal is to not do a subscription model. They are hoping to keep it. Basically you buy it. So Troy says here the last upgrade was $39. Yeah. So, definitely very, very reasonably priced. These guys, I'll tell you straight up, I've been fortunate. Scott Bourne, he shared a fair amount of information with me about where the company's going and what they're doing. I've shared with you what I can. Some things I can't share out of fairness because I was asked not to, and I'm not going to, damage that relationship. I have a lot of respect for the man and what they're doing. But I can tell you this, that they are doing a lot of the right things. And while I will give Adobe a lot of credit, remember Photoshop started as, a graphics program, and then photographers adopted it. And then it became a problem because it was really a pain in the butt for photographers to use. And Adobe then came out with Lightroom, which was designed for photographers. So, let's be fair, gang. Adobe did a great job with Lightroom. So many of you that now complain about Lightroom, right, learned photography and learned what you're doing on Lightroom. So go easy on Lightroom. Yes, Lightroom has its flaws. You hear me complain about it. I haven't used it from the beginning because I hate the import-export thing. That's just crap to me. So that's where my big beef on Lightroom is. But I want to be clear. For the average shooter, Lightroom is a great program. I mean, it's wickedly powerful. So, and when I say powerful, I'm talking the feature sets and that kind of stuff. But I like a lot of things. It's got its flaws, definitely. And it's really the catalog system. It's that whole import-export thing. Just, to me, if you would take the time to build a good information architecture for your filing system, you don't need that. And that's my situation. I can find any picture I've taken in the last, 18 years of digital photography. I can find it in less than 3 minutes. Hands down, super simple. Because my filing system is incredibly simple and it's incredibly basic. So I don't need them to do my asset management at all. Now, for some people, that works. That's great. But it's a program that was, it was designed from the ground up for photographers. So they did a great thing. But indeed, I would argue that they haven't kept up. They haven't kept up with the times. They haven't kept up with the needs. They haven't kept up as the industry has changed. And so you've got the folks at Skylum with, folks like Scott Bourne at the helm and some others just doing some brilliant work. So I think it's actually really exciting because here's what ultimately happens. As much as I obviously wish Scott Bourne and the folks at Skylum a ton of luck because I like what they're doing, they're going to create pressure for Adobe. And Adobe's a big company with a lot of assets. So what's that mean? Adobe's going to have to step up their game. So what happens is this competition, it's going to start to erode into Adobe's base. It's going to benefit the entire industry because it's going to force Adobe to come back and really revisit Lightroom and Photoshop and take them to the next level. And certainly they have the money and the resources to do it, right? So trust me, this is good for all of us. So I don't think so much it's about having a winner. I think it's about, getting great software out there. It's the same with the camera industry. We all, and I joke, I fuel the flame, Sony, Nikon, whomever, whatever. The competition is great. All the stuff that Sony's doing, it's great for the industry, okay? Whether you like it, whether you hate it doesn't matter. Obviously that's what makes it scary for Nikon and Canon users at this point because Nikon and Canon users are struggling moving to the next generation. They're struggling with the evolution, but they're going to get there. I know they're going to get there. The question is how good, the question is how much dramas are going to be when it happens, but they're going to get there. And it's good for the industry because honestly, gang, think about it. If it wasn't for companies like Sony, Panasonic, and Olympus, Nikon and Canon would not be going mirrorless. They simply wouldn't be. Now, I know that for some of you, you're like, yeah, that's great because we don't like mirrorless. Okay, but here's the other piece of the reality. The writing's on the wall. The future is mirrorless, whether you like it or not. So that's not to say that Nikon or Canon are going to dump their DSLRs because I'm sure they won't for a long time. But it is to say the future, it's mirrorless. So, don't be a dinosaur. Evolve, okay? Because we all know how that worked out for the dinosaurs, right? But all the competition is great for great for the industry. It's I think it's a wonderful thing. So, and it's the same with the software stuff. Okay. All right. So let me see here. I think I got one or two more questions. Let's try and sneak them in here before we hit 90 minutes. Since I'm already well over the 60, right? Cat Pan had a question earlier. Do I ever do focus? So actually, let me read you the whole question because I want to address this, Cat. The question was, dumb question, but do you ever do focus stacking with a portrait? If so, why? So the short answer is no. No. But more importantly, if it's a dumb question, why the heck are you asking? Right? If you already know it's dumb, don't ask. But no, I don't. Are there some creative uses to doing that? Sure. I'm sure somebody's probably found some kind of creative thing to do. But from a practical sense, Kat, to do focus stacking for a portrait. Ronaldo, how you doing, man? From a practical sense, to do focus stacking for a portrait, no, makes no sense whatsoever. So definitely not something that I do. So, Deck Luck, yes. If you've got one of the older versions of Luminaire and you're going to upgrade to the 2018, they gave everybody a really, really substantial discount. So I'll have at least one more license. I'll see if I can get more, but I'll have at least one more license to give away next week. So for those of you that didn't win this week, make sure you come back next week and we'll do a giveaway. Same thing. It's going to be about something in one of my videos, so you better watch the videos, okay? I'll tell you guys now, this week's video, so some of you, here, I can save you the time. Some of you may not want to watch this week's video. It'll be coming out this coming weekend. It's not a tutorial. It's not going to tell you how to light. It's not going to tell you anything cool. It's a follow-up that a lot of my viewers have been asking me about recently, so I figured, all right, it's time. This week, I am at the 6-month mark. 6 months since I said goodbye to Nikon, since I started with Olympus. So my next video, it's simply kind of a 6-month reportage of my thoughts. What do I regret? What am I happy about? How do I feel now that I've worked with them with 6 months? What are my thoughts on the future of what I'm going to do with them? All of that kind of stuff. I think you guys already have a sense, I'm very happy with the gear. You may be surprised at some of what I'll report, but that's basically what the video is going to be. So for those of you that obviously don't care, sorry, you can pass on this weekend. But the cool part is take that time that you would have watched my video and go pick up a camera, take pictures, get some practice in. So it's a good thing. All right. But yeah, that's what's coming out this week. So, make sure that you look for that. So let's see here. Cat Panda. I asked about it as I read somewhere else about it. And then I also felt it was weird because practically it needs a model to be still. But then, yeah. And again, for certain creative aspects, I could totally imagine that somebody would do that kind of stuff, Kat. But from a practical standpoint, yeah, definitely not the way to go. Gordon Smith adds on here, Loctite or Gorilla Glue when we're talking about the Justin clamp. Yeah, indeed, that kind of stuff would definitely probably work. One of the things I've mentioned this kind of it went by in passing. So here, just since you guys are live, and I know you guys like this kind of stuff, it went by in passing in one of my recent videos. These Oben ball heads, okay? And full disclosure, I am not the brilliant one that came up with this idea. I learned this idea while I was in, not the Justin Clinton thing, but this ball head thing. I learned the idea while I was in Las Vegas at WPPI. One of the other sets of speakers at the Olympus booth where I was speaking were a couple, Sean and Danielle King from North Carolina. They're wedding photographers, awesome wedding photography. You should check them out. These guys are great. They were using the Godox AD200s just like I was, or excuse me, no, they were using speedlights. Sorry. They were using Godox speedlights, but instead of mounting them on hot shoes, they were mounting them on ball heads. And what was great about it, of course, you mount the speedlight on the ball head and you could, turn it in any direction, angle it on the stand, all that kind of stuff. And so literally it's one of those things. I saw their first talk. In fact, actually, I saw their rehearsal the day before. We have some time that we get to go on stage and make sure everything's going to fit and work and all that kind of stuff. So they did a little run through and they set this stuff up. And I was like, oh my God, that is like so obvious. It's like amazing. Like using a ball head to be able to position the strobe. So I told them like right then and there, it's like, I'm using that idea. So they were using, full disclosure, they were using Manfrotto ball heads, which I kind of dissed Manfrotto in the Justin Clint video. I'll do it again here publicly. Manfrotto, they're a lot like Westcott. They make great products, high quality, but their prices are obnoxious, period. I stand by that, okay? So this puppy here holds 6 pounds for $12. It is a beast, works great. The Manfrotto equivalent is like a $40 or $50, ball head, which is just ridiculous. It's ludicrous, okay? So, but these things are great for mounting speedlights. I highly recommend it. And it could be any kind of speedlight. It doesn't just have to be like, I used it on the Godox strobes. It could be any kind of speedlight. And it's basically because you get so much versatility in terms of how you can angle your light. So, but these are the ones, and I did mention in a previous video, just kind of in passing, but highly recommend them, really love them. So, okay. Leon, lens does not make the distortion. It's how far you are from the model. If so, what do you think is the optimal distance of the photographer and model? Let's say the standard lenses. Leon, I'm not trying to be a jerk, man. I'm going to be honest. If you're trying to answer that kind of question, give up. Like, just give up, man. Like, photography is not about numbers. Photography is not about do it at this distance because it says so in a textbook. Photography is learn to see. Use your eyes. Right? So the way you need to answer that question, I'm not going to give you a number. I'm not even going to give you an example. I'm going to tell you what you need to do because I could tell you an exact number and all that number is going to do is screw you up. It's going to screw you up massively because there's no number, or for that matter, no range that applies to every situation that you're going to walk into when you were photographing a model or a portrait. It's just not. So what you need to do is you need to take a model and then you need to put those lenses on your camera and you need to move back and forth and see it. That way that information goes into your visual database. Okay? So because distortion is relative. Distortion is also subjective. Now, what I mean by that is because distortion is a physics thing, so which means it's not subjective. It's got numbers to it, right? But in terms of what's good distortion, what's bad distortion, that's subjective. You can't let anybody tell you that there's a rule. Okay. So honestly, what you simply have to put lenses on the camera and experience it. This is, and again, guys, this is why I don't have more viewers. This is why there are photographers out there that have been shooting for 4 years, but they do these cinematic videos with cool music. It's like, watch me take pictures. I'm not going to teach you anything, but watch me take pictures. And, they have tons and tons of views. That's cool. People want to be entertained. I'm officially calling that phototainment. You heard it here first. I'm not going to do phototainment. Yeah, I'll get in front of the video camera and I'll joke around and do goofy stuff from time to time and have fun because I want to have fun. But, I'm not there to entertain people. I'm there to teach and to learn. And so you have to understand that the best way to learn some of this stuff is to stop asking questions, gang. So I'm making an assumption that the reason you asked me that question, Leon, is that you probably own all or at least some of the 24, the 35, the 50, and the 85. Or you own zoom lenses that cover those ranges. So then, man, why are you asking the question? What you need to be doing is you need to be gaining experience. Answers to questions don't give you experience. You need to put those lenses on your camera and you need to add to your visual database by looking at a subject. And so you don't have a subject handy? No problem, okay? Do a chair, do a light, a floor lamp, something in your house that's tall, whatever, and see if it distorts. Okay. In fact, actually, if you really want to be able to see the distortion right away, find something that's got straight vertical lines. And that way you're going to be able to see where the distortion kicks in and you're going to get a sense. But there's no straight up rule that I can give you. And in terms of what I'm personally doing, there's no rule that I have, Leon. I could tell you that with my 45 millimeter f1.2, so micro four thirds, that's a 90 millimeter equivalent. I'm frequently photographing my subjects at about 4.5 to 5 feet distance for portraits, right? Now, that's close. I like it close because I can interact and I can talk. It's not too close because I'm not getting distortion. But do I ever measure it? Do I ever say, okay, this is my spot in advance? No. My spot is determined by the composition I want, etc. So that's why, for me, doing portraits, I work between the 45 millimeter f1.2, the pro lens, and then I do the 75 millimeter f1.8. Those are kind of my two in-studio lenses. And lately, I've finally gotten around to playing with the zooms a little bit more, using that 40 to 150. I'm literally loving all the Amsweco lenses. These things are so ridiculously sharp. So anyway, that's it. So Ronaldo, can't wait for the 6-month evaluation. Had the EM1 Mark II for almost a year and have no regrets. I'm in a mentorship group where they all shoot Sony and I'm not too impressed. Well, Ronaldo, it's like I always say, the problem with Sony is the 4-letter word, man. Remember what your mama taught you. Don't use 4-letter words. Here comes the hate mail. I'm kidding, gang. I'm kidding. All right. So, yes, Steve Wilkin, tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, 2 days, Friday is Patreon Zoom chat. Hope to see you guys there. We usually have a good time. So, all right, gang, listen, I am going to, where are we at here? Gary Geddes. I have to wait until my shutter count expires before I can switch camera systems, says the boss. So, seriously, the boss, I know what that means. The boss monitors your shutter counts. Wow, man, that's a tough boss, let me tell you. All right. So anyway, gang, listen, it is time for me to head out of here. Great chat tonight, gang. Thank you for hanging out. As always, I really, really appreciate it. We had a really good range of topics tonight. So for those of you that are not Olympus and don't care about Olympus, you get a pass this week, which means we were here for 90 minutes. Plus, you're not going to watch my video this week. So I expect like 2 hours minimum of camera time in hand taking pictures. No more YouTube crap, right? Go practice, go shoot so you get a break. For you Olympus users or those of you that are considering switching, you might want to watch the video. It's not going to be that long. It'll be a fairly short one, but still I think, it's an important one because there's some people that have some questions about, do I, and it's not so much, you guys know I like the gear, so there's no surprises there, right? It's really more about, out of all the gear that I purchased, what gear am I using the most? What have I found is, works most for me in the system, that kind of stuff. I think that's going to be kind of the pieces that are really going to be helpful to people that are considering a change. But seriously, for the rest of you, get out there and shoot. I don't know about where you're at in the world, but where I'm at here in the East Coast, the weather is finally functional. In fact, I'm looking forward to in the summertime. I usually manage to go out and get a little bit of walking every night, get some exercise. So I'm totally looking forward to taking my Olympus cameras and my new macro lenses that I got out, and just doing some macro stuff for fun while I go on my walks. So that's definitely going to be starting this weekend. So anyway, gang, again, thank you. Have a great week. I hope to see you back here next week. And as always, please remember these words.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now go and pick up that camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.